today I have with me a person that's become a good friend and who was an absolute hero during COVID. One of the many doctors who actually stood up for science and stood up for truth. A guy who fought around the country and who just did an immense number of things, and who has since launched mygotodoc.com, which is we actually promote them. It's one of the places that I promote that I believe in because Dr. Haidar has done such good work, and I trust him as a doc. He's one of the few doctors out there that I just, he stuck to the science, he stuck to the facts, he saw through the garbage, and so I'm actually willing to promote him. So for anybody that thinks that COVID is a thing, it's in the past, let's move on. No one's telling me to wear a mask anymore. Okay, well, you're right, not right now. But we've talked extensively about Disease X, Pandemic 2.0, all the things that are happening. And if you think that something that would result in $14 trillion just in the U.S. being transferred is a one-time event, I've got news for you. We know Disease X is coming back. A lot of people have speculated about when. I've been on record numerous times. I don't think it's happening till after the election. I think that it's going to be used as a demonstration as to why the WHO Treaty is so important. The WHO Treaty, which, by the way, is going forward, it is in place. Unless we withdraw from it, we're going to be subject to it. So, this is one of those things that it's coming. It's coming. So supporting people like Dr. Haidar, supporting our doctors who stood strong in truth. These are the people who are tested. These are the doctors who've already demonstrated that they have the fortitude to do what's right over what's easy. And these are the people who we most stringently have to support. We really have to stand behind these guys. So, by the way, if you're not looking at My Go-To Doc, please go to mygotodoc.com. Use the checkout code RENS. We are an affiliate of them. And but without further ado, Dr. Haidar, how are you doing today?
I'm great. It's always a pleasure to talk to you and see you. So glad to be here.
Well, thank you. Thank you for coming. So Doc, you stood strong during COVID. You did what was right over what was easy. It ended. It turned out that you and a handful of other docs were dead right on just about everything. It was never the world-ending pandemic that they made it. They did make it that way, and you saw, and we talked about, everything from the hospital protocols to the mRNA vaccines, to you name it. What are you seeing right now? So, you're practicing still. You've got My Go-To Doc. You got everything else. What are you seeing from the fallout from COVID? Are you still seeing mental health, physical health, the follow-up stuff? What are you seeing right now? What's hot related to that in medicine?
Yeah, so I think what we have to realize is kind of the first thing that we have to think of when we think of something like this, where dark forces perpetrated something against us, whether it's an assassination attempt or whether it's a pandemic or whatever it is, they're usually going to try to control all the narratives, and they'll actually seed multiple narratives out there, right? So they have narrative control, and they have some controlled opposition, on hand as well. So it's difficult to try to get at the truth. So a lot of people who were, I guess, in one sense on the right side of history, they kind of got COVID wrong. It did seem that there was nothing really significant that actually happened in terms of increased numbers of deaths during the pandemic itself. A lot of older people died, so we pulled forward a lot of deaths from older people, but overall, it was kind of like a normal flu year, right? So I agree with that. But there was a delayed effect of this, and it was either a combination of COVID and the vaccines, or it was just the vaccines, right? It seems like they snuck in the vaccines, and that was the real pandemic, right? The pandemic of the vaccines. We do see rising rates of cancer and chronic diseases and vaccine injuries. And, some people call it long COVID, although it's really a vaccine injury for a lot of people. There are people, as we were talking before we went on air, that never got the COVID shots. I see a lot of these people. Actually, I probably in the past have seen more people who didn't get any COVID shots because of how opposed I was to them. So like most of my followers didn't get the shots. Some of them did. I think they came along later once they realized that they had an injury and they needed some help. But I saw like other people, they were seeing 80% like vaccine injuries and 20% long COVID that had no history of vaccines. I actually saw the opposite for the first couple of years. I saw 80% of people who told me they had never gotten a shot, but they had mild, moderate, or very severe long COVID. And one of the possibilities there is that they got shed upon by somebody who got a particularly strong batch of the shot, perhaps. So that is a possibility. Most people who have shedding reactions, they don't get that sick and it wears off within a day or maybe a couple of days. But there are some people, there's a small subset, and it makes sense because it's basically still a small subset who come and complain to you of severe long COVID, who, when you get shed upon by a particular person, you get sick and you stay sick and you get something like a vaccine injury. So this is what we're seeing. We're seeing like I don't know if it's a tsunami yet, but it's growing and growing every year.